Throughout history, the animal kingdom has seen its share of brutal conflicts and ruthless leaders, but nowhere has the capacity for cruelty been more evident than in the annals of humankind. Some leaders, driven by insatiable ambition, twisted ideologies, or sheer disregard for human life, have left a trail of blood and suffering across the globe. Today, we delve into the dark heart of humanity, exploring the stories of the bloodiest dictators the world has ever known, and the staggering number of lives they took. Throughout history, power has been used to control, oppress, and destroy. Some leaders have left a trail of blood, responsible for the deaths of millions. Today, we reveal the bloodiest dictators the world has ever known, and the staggering number of lives they took. Our journey into the heart of darkness begins in the world's most populous nation, China. Here, in the aftermath of a devastating civil war, a new leader emerged, Mao Zedong. A communist revolutionary, Mao promised a new era of prosperity and equality for the Chinese people. But his grand vision, the Great Leap Forward, would prove to be a catastrophic miscalculation, plunging the nation into one of the deadliest famines in human history. From 1958 to 1962, Mao's radical agricultural reforms and collectivization policies led to widespread crop failures and mass starvation. Peasants, forced onto communes and stripped of their land, were left to toil under impossible quotas, their harvests seized by the state. Millions perished from hunger, their bodies too weak to resist the diseases that ravaged the countryside. The exact death toll of the Great Leap Forward remains a closely guarded secret of the Chinese government. But historians estimate that between 40 and 70 million people perished during those 4 horrific years. It was a man-made catastrophe of unimaginable proportions, a testament to the devastating consequences of unchecked power and ideological fanaticism. But Mao's reign of terror was far from over. In 1966, he unleashed the Cultural Revolution, a decade-long period of social and political upheaval that targeted intellectuals, artists, and anyone deemed a threat to his authority. Young people, swept up in the fervor of Mao's personality cult, formed the Red Guard, terrorizing their teachers, neighbors, and even their own families. Ancient temples were destroyed, books were burned, and countless individuals were publicly humiliated, tortured, and executed. The Cultural Revolution left deep scars on Chinese society, its legacy of violence and repression still felt today. Mao Zedong's rule, spanning nearly 3 decades, stands as a chilling reminder of the human cost of totalitarian regimes. His policies, driven by a utopian vision and a ruthless disregard for human life, resulted in the deaths of tens of millions of his own people. From the sprawling plains of China, we journey westward to the vast expanse of the Soviet Union, where another dictator, Joseph Stalin, held sway over millions of lives. A man of cunning and ruthlessness, Stalin rose to power in the aftermath of the Russian Revolution, consolidating his control over the Communist Party and transforming the nation into a totalitarian state. Under Stalin's iron grip, the Soviet Union underwent a period of rapid industrialization and collectivization, but at a terrible human cost. Millions of peasants were forcibly removed from their land and herded onto collective farms, their resistance met with brutal repression. Those deemed enemies of the state, real or imagined, were rounded up and sent to the Gulag, a vast network of forced labor camps scattered across the frozen wastelands of Siberia. Within the Gulag's barbed wire fences, prisoners endured unimaginable horrors. Subjected to starvation, disease, and overwork, many perished from exhaustion, their bodies left to freeze in the unforgiving cold. The Gulag became a symbol of Stalin's terror, a testament to the depths of human cruelty. But Stalin's reign of terror extended far beyond the Gulag. In the 1930s, he unleashed the Great Purge, a campaign of political repression that targeted anyone suspected of disloyalty or dissent. High-ranking party officials, military leaders, intellectuals, and ordinary citizens were swept up in the wave of arrests, show trials, and executions. The paranoia that gripped the nation during the Great Purge was palpable. Neighbors denounced neighbors, children informed on their parents, and fear became a way of life. Millions were executed or sent to the Gulag, their lives extinguished in the name of Stalin's twisted vision of a socialist utopia. Chapter 3. The Shadow of the Swastika, Adolf Hitler. Our exploration of history's bloodiest dictators takes us now to the heart of Europe, where the shadow of the swastika still darkens the continent's past. Adolf Hitler, the charismatic yet deeply disturbed leader of Nazi Germany, rose to power on a tide of nationalism, resentment, and economic despair. Hitler's twisted ideology, rooted in racial hatred and a warped sense of Aryan supremacy, plunged the world into the deadliest conflict in human history, World War II. But it was his genocidal campaign against the Jews, known as the Holocaust, that would forever cement his place among the most reviled figures in history. Driven by a delusional belief in Jewish conspiracy theories, Hitler orchestrated the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews. Men, women, and children were rounded up and deported to concentration camps where they were subjected to unimaginable horrors. Families were torn apart, their belongings confiscated, their heads shaved, and their bodies tattooed with numbers. Those deemed unfit for work were sent directly to the gas chambers, their bodies incinerated in crematoria, their ashes scattered to the wind. The horrors of the Holocaust defy comprehension. The sheer scale of the genocide, the cold, calculated efficiency of the Nazi killing machine, and the depths of human depravity it revealed left an indelible stain on the human conscience. But Hitler's reign of terror extended far beyond the Jewish people. Millions of others, including Roma, homosexuals, political opponents, and people with disabilities, were also persecuted and murdered by the Nazi regime. The world watched in horror as the full extent of Hitler's barbarity became known. The images of mass graves and emaciated survivors seared into the collective memory. Chapter 4. King Leopold II, The Forgotten Genocide. From the killing fields of Europe, we journey now to the heart of Africa, where another dictator, King Leopold II of Belgium, carved out his own reign of terror. Driven by greed and an insatiable thirst for power, Leopold turned the Congo Free State, a vast territory in Central Africa, into his own personal fiefdom. Under the guise of philanthropy and civilizing missions, Leopold unleashed a brutal regime of exploitation and brutality upon the Congolese people. He established a system of forced labor, forcing men, women, and children to harvest rubber, ivory, and other resources for his personal enrichment. Those who resisted were met with unimaginable cruelty. Leopold's agents, driven by quotas and a culture of impunity, resorted to torture, mutilation, and mass killings to maintain control. Villages were razed, hands were chopped off as proof of punishment, and hostages were taken to ensure compliance. The Congo Free State became a byword for colonial brutality, its rivers stained with the blood of millions. The exact death toll of Leopold's reign remains unknown, but historians estimate that between 10 and 15 million Congolese perished under his rule. Leopold's crimes, though largely forgotten by history, stand as a stark reminder of the horrors of colonialism and the devastating consequences of unchecked greed and power. His legacy, like that of the other dictators we have examined, serves as a warning to future generations, a testament to the fragility of human rights and the ever-present potential for darkness to consume even the most civilized of societies. Chapter 5. Pol Pot's Killing Fields. Our final destination in this harrowing journey takes us to the Southeast Asian nation of Cambodia, where the Khmer Rouge, led by the enigmatic and ruthless Pol Pot, unleashed a reign of terror that would leave the country scarred for generations. Driven by a radical ideology that sought to create an agrarian utopia, Pol Pot and his followers emptied the cities, abolished money and religion, and forced millions of Cambodians into slave labor camps. Anyone deemed an enemy of the revolution, intellectuals, artists, professionals, even those who wore glasses, were targeted for elimination. The killing fields of Cambodia became a chilling testament to the Khmer Rouge's brutality. Mass graves filled with the bodies of men, women, and children were discovered across the country, their bones a silent reminder of the horrors that had transpired. Children were forced to betray their parents, neighbors were encouraged to spy on each other, and torture became a commonplace occurrence. The Khmer Rouge's reign of terror, though brief, left an indelible mark on Cambodia, its legacy of violence and trauma still felt today. As we emerge from this exploration of history's darkest chapters, we are left with a profound sense of sorrow and a renewed appreciation for the fragility of peace and the sanctity of human life. The dictators we have encountered, driven by a toxic brew of ambition, ideology, and disregard for their fellow human beings, serve as cautionary tales reminding us of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of vigilance in safeguarding human rights. May their legacies serve as a stark reminder that the seeds of hatred and intolerance, if allowed to take root, can blossom into unimaginable horrors. It is our collective responsibility to learn from the mistakes of the past, to challenge injustice wherever we see it, and to strive for a world where the atrocities we have witnessed are never repeated. These are just a few of history's bloodiest leaders. Their legacies serve as a reminder of the dangers of absolute power. May history never repeat itself. Which dictator do you think was the most ruthless? Comment below, like, subscribe and share, watch more shocking history videos.